back with Deck of the Week. I'm Dan Ward. On the side of me, we got Mr. Kevin himself, the daddy. And this week, we have a special one for you. It's a deck that's not as popular, but has been seeing a little bit of an uptick on MTGO, and we felt it's kind of new and fresh, and we'd like to just give it a quick rundown.
Yeah, so. it's certainly interesting. It's
boom.
It's a new perspective, if you will. Poor pun, but yeah. So this is a New Perspectives combo, otherwise known as the cycling deck.
Yeah.
And it's seen a bit of a resurgence online with the Marvel ban, so we're gonna give you guys a rundown of this, and it's certainly a deck that people might play going into the Invitational this weekend, and it provides, like, you know, it fills a niche that a lot of other decks can't really do in Standard. So someone who really likes quirky combo decks would probably be drawn to something like this.
Yeah, you would think I really like this, and actually I played a PTQ this previous weekend where I had Lost Legacy in my black-white mid-range sideboard and was talked out of it at dinner because I just felt like between this deck and Paradoxical Outcome, I wanted to have a card that did something totally different that could, you know, give me some game versus this deck. And one of my losses in the PTQ was to New Perspectives. So here you go. We have the 5-0 list. Give it a little shout out here. And we'll get right into it.
Yeah, let's hit it.
Boom.
Hit the ground running.
Alright, so starting off, we've got a couple creatures, the two main ones of the deck, and then we have a one of, or we like to call the fun of here. So, Shefet Monitor and Vizier of Tumbling Sands. Both of these cards are really important to the deck because they utilize the cycling mechanic while gaining card advantage in some cases, and also just some utility to be able to combo with other cards in the deck.
So they gain mana. That's why these 8 cards are in the deck. These Shefet Monitor and Vizier of Tumbling Sands are both, once you have New Perspectives out and 7 cards in hand, you can pay 0 for cycling costs instead of the mana cost. So every time you do that, you can untap a land with Vizier and gain a mana.
Yes.
And if you untap the land enchanted with Weirding Wood or whatever the card's called, I think it used to be. I think it's Weirding Wood.
It's Weirding Wood.
Some of them played the other one that
Gift
gains
of
life.
Paradise.
Yeah, they were the one that gains life. But they're gonna play Weirding Wood, and they're gonna untap that land so that they net 2 free mana every time they cycle Vizier, and they net 1 free mana when they find a land, provided that there's still lands left in the deck when they cycle Shefet Monitor. So the rough idea behind the deck is to find at least 1 Vizier and 1 Shefet Monitor in your initial spell of cycling things, and then you can cast Shadow of the Grave with those 2 extra mana, get back all the things you cycled, including a Vizier and a Shefet Monitor, and then the second wave will find another one of each, and which will find another Shadow of the Grave, and then you'll net 2 more mana, and eventually you'll just start to net more and more mana until you can cast Approach of the Second Sun.
Yeah, or whatever the win condition
is. Yeah.
They want to be able. It kind of has a storm aspect to it, to where like once storm like casts its first pass in flames, then the ball, like once it started to roll, now it's an avalanche, and it happens the same way like you're talking with Shadow of the Grave, which we will get to on one of the future slides here.
Yeah.
So the other card that isn't one of the 8 that does increase the mana, it's Sphinx of the Final Word. So looking at this card, you know, 5/5 for 7 flyer, hexproof, can't be countered, pretty good. But like in conjunction with the other cards that this deck has, it kind of sticks out like a sore thumb, but does something that allows this deck to be able to beat some of the decks that are attacking it.
And what is that?
Like it says your sorceries and instants can't be countered.
It's just a strange card to people. I don't really understand it.
So I think having one of these, they can pretty much get it out between looting. They're going to get to it eventually. And they want their second sons to not be countered so that they can win the game that way. And also, it just allows them to be able to, you know, I know this is 7 mana, but their Shadow of the Graves are important, like you said, to keep the chain going, and then those can't be countered.
Such a strange way to win the game.
It is. It's totally different.
I don't know if they, like, I guess there are some counter spells, but like I would imagine that the counter spell decks would just counter New Perspectives and make you have a rough time anyway.
Yeah.
Like I feel like this is overkill. I feel like this deck has too many win conditions in it, and this specific version is very strange.
Yeah, maybe.
It's fine though.
All right, next slide.
That's not really the point of the thing. We're just gonna tell them how to play it.
Yeah, New Perspectives, the namesake card. Draw 3 when it enters the battlefield. As long as you have 7 or more in your hand, you can pay 0 for your exile cost.
Mm-hmm.
One thing to note: this is the draw 3 trigger. If they do not have 7, you can play cards like Anguish Unmaking, Cast Out, and remove that, which I've seen happen, and that's a problem.
Trigger
that
on the
this deck
stack
has.
when they're going up to 7 or whatever. Yeah. There's certainly something you can do.
So not too much to talk about new perspectives. It's just kind of like the card that allows this deck to operate the way it wants to.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's the combo.
Yeah.
Allowing you to pay 0 for cycling is the whole reason why it all works. And
6 mana Fluctuator that draws cards.
Yeah, and like the reason why this enables the combo, and then the next card on the slide, Shadow of the Grave, is what really facilitates the combo. And these two cards are actually the combo.
Yes.
It's cycle a bunch of things for free, get them all back.
Correct.
Cycle a bunch of things for free, get them all back. And that's the idea.
Yeah.
So the deck is basically just tries to do that, and the cool thing about it is that it has so much redundancy because basically all the cards in the deck that are not Weirding Wood, Shadow, New Perspectives have cycling. There's a couple win conditions.
Sphinx.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's a couple win conditions, and then the rest of the cards pretty much all have cycling. So the idea is that you'll find the cards that you need pretty smoothly, and if not, you can cycle to get there, until you get there.
Yeah,
because everything else has cycling.
And even the card like Shadow of the Grave, which doesn't have cycling, but like drawing that in multiples isn't necessarily a bad thing because you want to be casting that to get the ones you've already cycled this turn.
Yeah, you could like cycle, 1 or 2 things and then play the shadow just to like draw a couple extra cards.
Yeah.
If you have multiple shadows but need something else to find something else or whatever.
Okay.
So see that. But and then the third card on the slide is Weirding Wood, which is used to enchant a land, and the land now taps for 2 mana of any one color. You also investigate when Weirding Wood enters the battlefield. Gets a little added value there as you can draw a card. It's like it weirdly has cycling too. It just has to resolve.
Yeah.
It's kind of strange, but I do like this card in this deck because it works very well with Vizier.
Yeah.
And that's the idea, is that when you start untapping this thing over and over, you're netting an actually like realistic, noticeable amount of mana.
It's weird because it's only a 3 of in the deck, and I think that's partially due to the fact that the numbers are tough, and like you said, in this list particularly, there's a couple 1-ofs and different variations on having some other win conditions that you have to find room.
Yeah.
But I also think with having a lot of cycling, you just eventually need to get to one of these.
Yep.
And then you're good. But I think this card is like very important. You said it yourself. It kind of has cycling, so the Investigate is real. It's combo with the Vizier. But also, it just allows you to ramp into an earlier New Perspectives, which is important, while also fixing the mana. We'll get to the mana in a little bit, but there's a lot of tap lands, and if you don't have a green source, the deck can be a little clunky. So once this card resolves, and obviously you need a green source to resolve it, it just helps all of your other things to happen.
The weird, pun intended, thing about it is that it's just basically like part of the nut draw. It's like a strange looking card, but it's part of they really want to go like Weirding Wood on turn 3, and then
Chef it.
Oh yeah, or that, and then it allows you to play New Perspectives a turn early because it accelerates your mana, and then when you have it in play, you can just kill them immediately.
Yeah.
Like you can play New Perspectives on turn 5 and go cycle Vizier, untap this, cycle a bunch of other things, cycle Shvet Monitor, tap Weirding Wood, in the Weirding Wood enchanted land, cast Shadow of the Grave, get 7 things back, and do it again.
Yeah. All right, next slide. All right, we got a couple 4-ofs, different colors, blue, green, and red. We got Censor, Haze, and Sweltering Suns.
So, Haze makes a lot of sense as the deck doesn't really interact at all. It's just going to be spinning its wheels the best it can and trying to stay alive until it can go off. And a fog effect is really good for doing that. And when you don't need a fog effect, it obviously cycles, which is one of the baseline, requirements for being included in this deck, basically.
Okay.
So, Haze Apollo makes total sense here. Censor also can, stumble your opponent a little bit, slow them down a little bit. It's never really going to stop their plan completely, but it will keep them off balance enough that you can, if you censor their turn 2, play Weirding Wood, now, you're just far enough ahead that when you fall behind, you won't fall behind too much.
Yeah.
It's you're just gonna fall behind in a lot of the games. They're gonna, they're gonna put creatures into play, and they're gonna do things, and you're just cycling and doing nothing.
Yeah.
So you're gonna fall behind almost every game. But Censor helps you, maintain some sort of parity, and even if the parity is you, finding the things you need while just keeping them a little slower so that they can't kill you before you go off, then that's the way that you're staying ahead.
Yeah, like 1 mana too. One of the good things about this card is it just, without having new perspectives, 1 mana cyclers, they're at a premium. Having the ability to, like you said, have 2 mana up, and if your opponent doesn't do anything, be able to cycle it to be able to get to the stuff that you want to get to.
And then Sweltering Suns is, I believe that Sweltering Suns and Haze are the only 2 cards in Amonkhet that have a 3 mana cycling cost.
Okay.
And I believe that's because they're both really, really powerful. They're both powerful cards that, because they cycle. So like a Fog effect is a really polarizing effect, and it's very good when it's good, and very bad when it's not. So giving a card like that cycling really mitigates the drawback, so it's pretty powerful. So I think it might have been a little bit too efficient if it cycled for 2.
Okay.
And same with Sweltering Suns, like a sweep or a Radiant Flames type effect is a huge effect to have, but really bad when you're down against a Gideon or whatever, a copycat combo or a control deck or something. But you can cycle it.
Yeah.
So it's never that bad.
Yeah, it's never that bad and has situations where it's actually very good.
Oh, it's lots of situations where it's very good, and the only situations when it's not, you can cycle it.
Yeah.
And then it's also interesting because the only times that the card is really bad is when you need to cycle it, but you're so far behind you don't have the time. And that happens some percentage of the time, but usually when you're that far behind early, it's to creatures, and you can use it to, kill creatures. So it's actually a really well-designed card, a really interesting card, too. So let's hit the next slide with that, Daddy. Ooh.
All right, here we go. We've got a couple win conditions. And I kind of want to say this is 3 win conditions because by now most people know what Approach of the Second Sun. That's what this deck wants to be doing to win. We have a 1 of Faith of Devoted, which I think is just, hey, I want to have one more piece that is an approach, or maybe something else to do on turn 3 that as I'm cycling to build up to new perspectives, I can just gain a little bit of life. But I think it's like more of a finisher once you have the quote unquote infinite mana with Vizier. Not infinite, but when you go off.
Well, yeah, so this certainly is just played on, the turn between Weirding Wood and New Perspectives.
Yes.
And then you no longer have as much pressure on your deck to be statistically average or whatever. So, like, you just play this on that one interim turn, fog them or whatever, then untap, play New Perspectives, start cycling things, and so you have to pay 1 every time. So if you have excess mana, you can do that. If not, you can untap things with Vizier, and then you're going to net mana eventually when you get the cards back. So
yeah, I think more likely though this card's actually combined with Commit to Memory is the actual like late game. They're not going to play. I don't think, depending on the deck they're playing, I think more times than not they're going to play the Faith Devoted the turn that they go off because they don't want to risk it getting cast out or anguished or anything like that. Sure. Because once they have Faith Devoted and Memory, you pretty much have the loop going, and you're going to get to the point where you're just going to get back all your Viziers and all your Shadows through Memory back into your deck. Yep. And Memory, I really like the addition of this because one thing the deck doesn't really have a good job, like it doesn't do a good job doing is like dealing with resolved permanents that don't have 3 toughness. Yeah. Like creatures and just planeswalkers and stuff. So on the commit half, like you said, taking the turn 3 to do Weirding Wood, you can just it bridges the gap between New Perspectives to be able to set them off, slow them down, do whatever you need to do, while then, because some games get to a point where you've cycled a couple Chefette Monitors early, you've cycled a couple Viziers to get to cards so that you don't die, and it just puts all these cards back into your deck.
Yeah, so I really like Commit to Memory here. It's pretty low cost to include. The front half can keep you alive a little bit. It's not too bad, and then...
Yeah, I almost want to say 2 of those would be better than the 1 Sphinx of the Final Lord.
Maybe. You also can just save your own New Perspectives.
Yeah. Like,
weirdly, just put your New Perspective
true, and
second
then
from the top and then cycle back into it.
Yeah,
if you're down a whole bunch of cards or something like that.
Yeah. I like that.
And then Faith of the Devoted is weird, but like we said, it's just an additional win condition. You're going to have multiple excess mana when you're going off, and this also is just a fine way to do fair things. Like you just play this and you're like, all right, well, cycle something, and all of a sudden I'm at like 26 or whatever. 24,
Yeah, I can
and
imagine a game where
you're
you just
16 and you're just like staying alive a little longer because of this card. It gives you 2 extra turns or whatever.
Yeah, I can imagine a world where like you're playing blue-red control and they have like Essence Scatter up and you just play this card and the game's just over.
Yeah, and they had just allow for new perspectives or whatever, but you just snuck this in and then they just can never win.
Yeah.
They'd have to commit it, right? That's literally their only way to kill it.
Yeah, I think so. All right. Getting to the mana base here, it is a little funky. We are playing like every color.
Yeah, I like the basic lands. I don't ever want to have Chevette Monitor be dead.
Okay.
So I like the basic. I assume there's more on the next slide, or maybe not.
Yeah, there's one swamp. So
Yeah.
we got 5, 3, 1, and then 1 swamp.
Yep.
And then we're
So
gonna
we got 10 basics.
Yeah, 10 basics, like you said, for the Chefette Monitor. We want to be able to utilize that a couple times, make sure we get them. Plus, the basics are important on like turn 6 because this deck does have a lot of tap lands. So the key turns are turn 3, being able to cast Weirding Wood, being able to cast the Slag Storm of the format, if you will, for this
And
deck.
it gives you like a. The tap
Swap
lands are
down
okay
sounds.
because like you're not the turn you play Weirding Wood, you untap play a land and you'll be at 5,
Yeah.
not 6. So like
Yeah,
it
you
gives you a
catch
turn
back
to
up.
play. Yeah, it gives you like the Weirding Wood lets you play a tap land the next turn, and then you have to have less on tap land so you can have new perspective.
Yeah, it's just important for turn 3 and turn 6 if you don't have a Weirding Wood to have an untapped land.
Yes,
That's the important.
certainly.
And then we got some more cycling lands. We've got 2 irrigated farms, 2 scattered groves, 4 sheltered
15
thicket.
cycling lands out of a maximum 20, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of cycling lands.
It's cool.
Yeah.
What an
Sheltered
awesome way to
thickets.
live.
Sheltered
it.
thicket's real important because we need the double red for Sweltering Suns when we want to cast it, while also green being very important for Weirding Wood and Chefette Monitor.
Yep.
So, all right, and onto the sideboard. 3/3/3.
So the counter spells make a ton of sense, as what you're trying to do is combo-esque and just like negate on the early turns to counter their, if they have maybe a discard effect or something weird like that,
Gideon.
a Lost Legacy effect, something like that, or a powerful threat like Gideon. You can counter those things early, and then you can protect your threats when you're going off, and Dispel only works for the second half of that,
Yep.
in that it's just much better at protecting your threats when you're going off, but a little bit worse at keeping you alive in the early game.
Yeah.
So that's why they split them up and they don't play like 4 Dispel or something like that.
Yeah, I really like Negate here. The flexibility is huge, and if this deck becomes more popular or a list becomes a little bit more consistent, I think Negates could even go up to 4 because you're going to start to see people play cards like Lost Legacy in their board, Gideon's Intervention, so that they just can't cast New Perspectives,
Okay.
and cards like that. So
Kinda
I
interesting.
really like Negate. Lastly on here, Drake Haven.
Makes a ton of sense. It's an alternate win condition in that it'll just come down early, and then you can cycle some things, get some tokens, pressure planeswalkers, leave up your negates, and still get on the board. It's a great sideboard card, as they're not really going to be prepared to deal with creatures in any way
True.
post board.
And a couple more 3-outs. We got 3/3/3/3 here.
We got a Shatter. Makes sense. It has a Shatter with cycling. It's painfully obvious why this card's in their sideboard.
Yeah.
So that's that. And then Dispossess as a 3-of. It's like the surgical or the cranial extraction for artifacts. The Lost Legacy that can target artifacts, whatever you want to call it. So I assume that this was in the deck for Marvel.
I think it was in the deck for Marvel, but also I could see it being for maybe one of the matchups that it is like a trouble matchup is blue-red.
Okay.
So I could see it just having like 3 of these in there for Torrential Gearhulks, because trying to win through a Wandering Fumarole is kind of difficult. I don't know if that's exactly what the plan is. The Metalwork Colossus deck has become a little bit more prevalent as well.
It's probably still in there for Torrential Gearhulk, if it is still in there at all.
Yes.
Like, I wonder if that they wouldn't just change this slot post-banning or what have you. I'm not sure how old this exact list is. But, yeah. I mean, Dispossessed is certainly fine for dealing with Marvel. That's not a problem anymore. It's not fine for dealing with something like Heart of Kieran. It's way too slow.
Definitely not.
I wouldn't be doing that.
That's
so
what the Deliverance is
I'd
for.
imagine it's for a slow artifact like Torrential Gearhulk or Metalwork Colossus, or it doesn't belong in there anymore. Not sure which one, but one or the other.
That could be it. All right, final thoughts. Deck's fun. It's not fun to play against, but fun to play with.
It's probably fun to play against.
Yeah, I don't know.
Some
You
percentage
just
of the time
sit there.
they just go off and then they mess up.
That
fizzle,
happens
and die.
sometimes, but most of the time you just sit there and your opponent just goes cycle, draw, untap, cycle, draw, untap, and they say that like 20, 30 times.
Did you
in
watch
there.
Masashi? Was it Masashi Oiso at the Pro Tour?
No.
He was playing against, I think, Juza. Juza was playing zombies, and Juza just has like one card in hand, like 4 random creatures in play, and Oiso just like he can wait a turn to go off, or he can go off as soon as he has 6 mana. So he just has 6 mana, plays Perspectives, starts going off, misses bricks, and just dies. And that's how both games go.
Oh my god.
And he just like cycles, and Juice is like, and then as he like starts to cycle more slowly and more deliberately, Juice starts to perk up a little bit, and then he like just shrugs, shakes his hand. Juice is like, all right, it's great.
Yeah, I think
it was funny to watch.
I think the list is a little more tuned at this point, so but there still is a fail rate. Last thing before we sign off, Drake Haven. It's the 3 of them in the sideboard.
It's good.
Where do you think, if there was a place in the world, Drake, the rapper, his haven actually is? Where is that
Toronto.
place? Is it the 6?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
That's the Drake Haven.
That's the Drake Haven? Just Toronto? All right.
That was a weird parting thought. But yeah, no, it's sweet. But this deck was actually the first deck on camera in Amaket Standard.
Really?
Round 4 of the Pro Tour was the match I just told you about, New Perspectives versus Mono Black Zombies. So it's come full circle, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week's Deck of the Week. I'm Dan Ward.
And I'm Kevin Jones.
We'll see you next week with Affinity and Beyond. Little Buzz Lightyear, we're going to be coming at you. And at 12:30 today, we're going to be doing the weekly award. So hopefully we'll see you then.
We're doing Affinity next week because it's probably going to win the Invitational this weekend.
That's
And
true.
it makes sense. So see you guys. Thank you.
Later.
The fighters are ready! Daddy is ready! The refs are ready! Are you ready?
Draft Exemplar on turn 2, attack you for 7.
Whoa.
We'll see
Have
you
a
next
good one,
week.
guys. Thank you.
12:30. We'll be back and better than ever. Oh, I'm doing a dab.